If you know anything about the South African retail space, you'll probably know to avoid Takealot as a platform for buying, especially when it comes to electronic components. And with this, I mean things like PC components, especially graphics cards. And the reason that I say that is simply it's overpriced. It's extremely overpriced, and Takealot as a platform has become very overpriced. And so I wanted to take a look today at what it would cost to build a system on Takealot and just sort of talk about, the price to performance for that system as it compares to what it would cost at another store in South Africa. So let's build a system and let's see what it comes up to. Let me warn you, it's not going to be cheap. Let's do it. Now, when choosing components on Takealot, it can be quite challenging because it's pretty much a race to the bottom when it comes to the pricing on Takealot, and the pricing is extremely confusing. Let me click on motherboards here to show you what I mean. So, you'll have something like this, which is actually not that bad in terms of pricing because it is a 6-core CPU and it's relatively modern, and it's reputable name brands at least. But then you'll have something like this, which is just an entry-level A520M motherboard for 1,500 Rand, which is, expensive, but it's not crazy. But, then you'll have something like this, which is almost 3,000 Rand, and it is still a relatively budget board. Now, it does have some features, but even so, nothing to warrant it costing 3,000 Rand. And that's sort of the thing that confuses me about Takealot, because you'll have some things thrown in here like this old LGA 1150 board, which, why is this even in here? And then more than that, it's almost the same price as a AM4 board. So it doesn't really make that much sense. And then you'll have, a big step up with a B650 board and one that has Wi-Fi. And, it is a relatively premium board. And it's almost as much as this board, which is, AM4, B550, and a lot more basic. So it can be confusing, the way that they do things. But, apart from that, it's just, the options on the site isn't always the best. But I've chosen this because there isn't that much option. And for 10,000 Rand, you are getting some valuable components. I mean, you do get the 5700X 3D, which is the 3D cache variant of the 5700X, which is an 8-core 16-thread CPU. And this variant is fantastic for gaming, especially. Now, I did want to go with AM5, but I only saw the 7500F in the listings, and that while that is a fine CPU and motherboard combo, it is not what I wanted for this, because I wanted something a little bit more premium and something that would match well with a better graphics card, and I'll explain that in a moment. Now with this, you do get the B550 board, coincidentally the same one that we looked at. I do wonder if the price was pushed up on this one just so that this, this combo deal seems more valuable. I'm not saying that it was, but it is a little bit suspicious. You do get the 5700X 3D, which is a really good CPU. And then you get 16 gigs of Gale Orion RAM. Now it doesn't say that, but I just recognize it from it just says DDR4 memory, so maybe it just gives you whatever memory is available, because it doesn't specifically say anything about Gale Orion RAM specifically. But either way, it's 3200 megs, 3200 megahertz of 16 gigs of RAM, and it's fine. It's not great, and apparently you also get a 240mm liquid cooler with this. I'm not seeing this in the pictures. Here it is. So that is the Antec one. It's a decent one. So there's a bit of value here, but for 10,000 Rand, I probably wouldn't purchase this. Now I do know that the CPU goes for around 5,000 Rand. So maybe this isn't the worst deal in the world, but still I think you can do better. And when you're spending 10,000 Rand, it is best to go with AM5. This is that same motherboard. So moving on to the graphics card, and here's where it gets really confusing. So I've chosen the 4070 Super Evo. Now this is a 12 gigabyte VRAM graphics card, which is a little bit confusing. I mean, why did Nvidia even do that? They might as well have made this a 16 gig one, because you know it's quite a premium price, and 12 gigs, it just seems like such a random number. I guess it's fine for most games now at at 2K maximum, but yeah, I don't really understand that. But the thing with this card is this is not the best price in the world. So usually it's apparently 16,500 Rand, and now it is on sale for just under 15,000 Rand. But this card, the better variant of this card, the TI variant, goes for 13,000 on other stores in South Africa. So it's a little bit confusing as to why this costs what it does. Now this is from the Asus Prime series of cards, so I think it's a nice looking card, but it's not the best shroud in the world. It's very basic, it's quite small. So it's a little bit confusing as to why this is as expensive as it is. But when you look at the other cards that they have, suddenly it doesn't seem that expensive. So here we have a 7600, which is an 8 gig card, and it's a much worse card, for almost 7,000 Rand. We have a 6700 for more than what the 4070 Super is. We have a 7800 XT, it's a good card, for 13,000 Rand. So this is also a decent choice if you want to go with the AMD variant, but this isn't a good price for this card either. So, it's just confusing. And then you look at something like a 2060, which is a much older card, a 6 gigabyte variant of a 2060, not even the 12 gigabyte variant, and this one is 6,000 Rand. So it doesn't make any sense the way that the pricing works on Takealot. And then you'll have like a 3060 12 gig for 10,000 Rand. I mean, that is insane. So I've gone with this, but not because I wanted to, kind of just because I had to. Then moving on to storage, I have chosen a Western Digital Blue. This is just a standard PCI 4 NVMe drive, and the price on this is okay. This is pretty much what it costs in other stores, maybe a little bit more expensive, but it's not too bad. Usually it's around 2,000 Rand. It's at around 1,400 now, but I think you can find this for around 1,000 Rand in other stores. Moving on to the case. Now, this is one area where they do actually have quite a bit of decent choices. And they even have some of these where you get a little power supply with it. So if you want to build like an office system, something like this would be good. Although, 1,000 Rand is quite a lot for that. But then you have like, and that's the thing about cases on Takealot. It's, decent cases are 1,000 Rand. That is just, it is what it is. So all you have to do is come and look at what case you like. These dark flash cases look pretty cool to me. I've never seen one in person, but I like the way that they look. I don't know about the quality though. But yeah, so just choose what you like. If you want to go a little bit cheaper, I've worked with this case many times, and it is actually very good for the price. You get, it's a good looking case. It's very bold. It comes with I think it comes with 3 fans if I remember, and it's just a good case overall. But for this, I've chosen the Cougar Archon 2. It's a good case. I've seen this many times in person. It has a mesh front. It has a lot of airflow. Comes with 3 fans, and it is an RGB case. So ARGB actually, it seems. So it's good for what it is. I assume that it has a button to control the fans. But for 1,000 Rand, I think it's a really good case. And this is one spot where I would say this is actually a really good deal. And then lastly here, we have the power supply. Now, power supplies, the selection isn't the best and the prices are quite bad. An Antec Atom, which is not the best brand. I bought one the other day and it's really loud and I don't know, it's not the best thing in the world. And this, this is a 750 watt one, so this is a choice as well at 1,000 Rand. But I have I have this Deep Cool power supply in this system that I'm recording on, and I've had it for 2 years and it's been perfect. Now I know deep cool is a bit controversial to some people, but it's a fantastic power supply, never steered me wrong, and I'm really happy with it. So for R1,000, I would say go for this. It's actually not a bad price, and you should be fine, using this for a relatively power hungry system. I'm unsure if the 4070 needs more power than that. It does say recommended 750 watt, so maybe you would have to go with maybe, I wouldn't go for the Atom, but maybe something like this is what you would need to do, at around 1,000 rand. So that's not too bad, because it has that extra 50 watts, but you should be okay with the 700 watt. So the main components in this, the 5700X 3D and the 4070 Super, I'm curious to see how these will perform together. Let's do a quick calculation to see what this PC comes up to. So we are looking at 9,000, I'm just going to say 10,000 for the first 4 components: the cooler, the motherboard, the CPU, and the RAM. All in all, looking at it that way, the price isn't that bad. Then we have 15,000 rand for the graphics card. We have another 1,400 for the storage. We have another 1,000 for the case, and another 1,000 for the power supply. And all in all, we come to 28,500 rand. So, in terms of pricing, when I look at it that way, I mean, the system that I'm on now, I paid 28,000 rand for the system that I'm on now 2 years ago, and it is actually very similar components in terms of a generation before what this would be. Now I do have a lot more RAM and I've got more storage and all that kind of stuff, but in that system I have a 3070. In this system actually I have a 3070 and a 5700X base. So maybe the price isn't that bad, but then again, it is now not the most recent technology anymore. The 40 series is now not the most recent, AM4 is not the most recent, and you do only get 16 gigs of RAM. So I'm going to say, to my surprise, it is not terrible pricing, but it's definitely not good. So for basically 30,000 rand, for 28,500 rand, you get this system. Now I will say this system is perfect for gaming, and you're pretty much going to destroy any game at 2K. So with that said, let's see what a basically 30,000 rand system will get us on Takealot in 2025. Let's do it. First up here, we are looking at Cyberpunk at 1440p Ultra. So notoriously difficult to run. But before I get into it, thanks again to Shadow7 for, hosting this video for us to look at. And let's get into it. So Cyberpunk at 1440p maximum settings, we are looking at an FPS number of 75. Now, this is actually quite impressive, because this is without any upscaling, without any, AI technology, but also without ray tracing. So you have to consider that. But I think, it's a good result, very cinematic result, and at 1440p to get a very playable result at maximum settings is actually quite impressive. Forza Horizon 5, this is going to run easily, extreme settings with ray tracing, 1440p. We are looking at 115, the average of 117, so yeah, fantastic result. This is going to be perfect for a console sort of PC where you just sit back and play this on a massive TV. Switch it to 4K for this game and it'll look amazing. I'm going to take a look next at, I'm not really going to look at these esports titles because there's no need. We know it's going to crush that. Alan Wake 2, a little bit of a difficult game to run. We are looking at 1440p Ultra, and we are looking in the 50s right now for performance, average of 55. So, close to a smooth 60 for this, which is considered cinematic, but you would expect a little bit better for 30,000 rand. Again, not going to look at esports too much. Horizon Forbidden West, the new Horizon game. Graphics are amazing. 1440p Ultra. We are looking at an average of 125. Very good. Fantastic performance there. Spider-Man, Miles Morales. 150 average, 4040p very high. So this is another game where you can easily go to 4K and have a fantastic cinematic experience on a massive TV. Not going to look at Power World, PUBG, Starfield we can look at, but Starfield, it's a bit of a silly one. 1440p Ultra, average of 77. That's actually quite good, considering 1440p Ultra, because this is a difficult game to run and it's very poorly optimized. But 1% lows here of 60, so it's even going to feel good. So I'm quite surprised at how well Starfield runs. And then Last of Us Part 1, difficult game to run. 1440p Ultra, we are looking at 85, 84 average. So that's a really good result, very powerful. And this is a kind of game where that 12 gigs of VRAM helps a lot, but you would prefer to have 16. God of War, we are looking at 105 average, 1440p Ultra. I was expecting a little bit more, but it's not bad, obviously, and anything above 60 is going to feel fine for an action game like this. Hogwarts, we are looking at an average of 170, 1440p Ultra. This is going to look amazing. It's going to run amazing. Thanks again to Shadow7 for the video. And the 1% lows there are a little bit all over the place, but overall I think it looks quite smooth. Let's take a look at one last one here. I think we will do, well, let's do two more. We'll do COD Warzone 3 Extreme Graphics, 1440p Ultra, and this is going to run at 120 FPS average. The 1% lows are a little bit low, so it might feel a little bit stuttery, but the overall result is very good. And then moving on lastly to Red Dead Redemption 2. We are looking at 1440p Ultra with an average of 145. So, high refresh rate gaming on this one, and again, still such a good looking game. So let's talk about the system. 30,000 Rand is a lot of money. Anyone in South Africa is going to agree with me. And I do think for that money you can build something better, but am I devastated about the results for 30,000 Rand? Not really. I was expecting a little bit worse. I was expecting to get, I think the graphics card helps a lot, because the graphics card is only overpriced by about 2,000 Rand. So I think, that brings the average down quite a lot. So I was going to say Takealot is the last place you should shop at, but maybe it's second last. Maybe it's not quite that bad, and if you can find a good special. But overall, I wouldn't recommend building an entire PC on there. I would rather look at places like Woodware, Evetech, if you are okay with the customer service. And just shopping online for good specials. Personally, I would go on Carbonite and just build a second-hand one. From a reputable seller. So that's what I would do. But if you do insist on using Takealot, you can definitely find something worthwhile, and I am pretty surprised with that. So this one was one for the South African viewers. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think. Do you buy on Takealot? Do you wait for specials? Let me know down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.